G'day new starters, welcome back. Well, I gotta say I'm a little bit excited this week. On Thursday I will walk the line and I will receive my honours degree, and that represents the culmination of 5 years work that started with a conversation with Emmy, where I indicated that after some 20 odd years of ministry there was still deep within me a desire to be able to go and do a PhD. But in order to do that PhD I needed to get the undergraduate work out of the road, because when I graduated with my diploma of ministry it wasn't accredited and I didn't have the foundation upon which to do the PhD. And she had said to me at that point that I probably just needed to get it over and done with, seeing I've been talking about it for so long. And at that point in time I said, yeah, but if I do it straight through the fastest timetable that I possibly can, it's going to take me 8 years, which will make me 55 by the time I finished. And she said to me, in her wisdom, you'll be 55 anyway. The choice you have to make is, will you be 55 with the degree or 55 without it? And so at that point I recognized that I did have the capacity to put on hold lots of things in my life and focus for the next few years on this process, which now I'm almost 2/3 of the way through. In fact, I am 2/3 of the way through, because the chances are that I'll be able to start a PhD next year, and I'm looking forward to that. The reason that has been on my consideration for some time is because I've always had this sense that that is something that I could do with my life. I didn't necessarily recognize that it is something that would be automatic, but I have always felt like if I could apply myself for a period of time, and that's a big if, then I could achieve a PhD. And just simply on the basis that I have that capacity, then to be able to be well equipped enough to be able to speak to the issues that impact people's lives, I have felt like that I should do that. But there is a much more specific reason that I've wanted to achieve the PhD. I have deeply wanted for a long time to be able to devote a significant piece of my life to focusing on the question of what love does when it transforms our life. And to do a PhD in that area allows me the freedom to just focus very, very deliberately in that area. And for that reason, it has been something that I have wanted to be able to do. Because you see, I believe that, as you've probably seen many times in the things that I've said here, that it isn't a case of who we are that determines what we will do with our lives. It is much more a case of who we believe we are that will determine what we do with our lives. It'll determine the way we relate to people. It'll determine the choices we make. It'll determine everything about our life trajectory, who we believe we are. And love changes how we believe, or changes what we believe about ourselves. And I am convinced that the issue of faith is an issue of allowing love to transform our lives. For many, they see faith as coming to a point where you believe certain cognitive ideas. You have this mental assent towards certain ideas. But I don't believe that's the case at all. I am convinced that what faith is a profound vulnerability at the very core of our being to the nature of God, that allows Him to work with the presence of His nature that is already within us and develop it and draw that reality from deep within. And love is the way that happens. So faith is about accepting the activity of God in our lives. It's not about how I believe in certain ideas and hold to certain ideas. And those ideas can have some significance, they can have some merit, but primarily faith is a vulnerability to what God would do in our lives. And you know, in the New Testament there is a debate that seems to be playing out, because On the one hand, there is this idea that we are saved by faith. It's a very, very deep and profound idea. But there is this background theme that runs through the Bible. It's particularly seen in the letter that James wrote, when he says that if we are saved, people will tell it in the things that we do. And he says, don't tell me you have faith and don't live out of that faith. I'll know you have faith by what you do. And it was almost this contradictory idea between faith on the one hand and the activities of life on the other. And in fact, so much so that the great reformer Luther thought that what James wrote was completely worthless. But there's a truth there that needs to be dug out. And the truth is this: the things that I do flow out of the person that I believe that I am. And I cannot do enough to earn a relationship with God, because at the very core of my being, my life has been marred by the absence of relationship with God. And the only way to transform that is to have relationship with God. And so if I'm trying to do enough to have relationship with God, I can't, because I don't have. And so what I must do is open myself up to relationship with God. And I'm not talking about, when I say relationship, I'm talking about a deep connectedness, not just the reality, or just the acceptance of the reality of God's existence, but a genuine connectedness. That connectedness allows His love to work in our lives till we come to the place where we totally abandon ourselves to that love, where we give our very identity over to that love. And it is when my identity is found in God's love for me that I am able to live out a life that reflects that, because at that point I start to believe the truth about who I am. And so as you go out into this week, recognize the things that you are doing, the things that you are saying, the things that you are even emotionally experiencing reflect what you believe to be true about yourself. And love wants to bring what you believe to be true about yourself in line with who you really are. And who you really are is a child of God. Have a great week.